Welcome to Makati, Philippines. This is one of my favorite places in the Philippines. I've been to a few locations like Cebu City, Puerto Princesa, and I find this to be one of the more modern locations. And so if you're a digital nomad, a would-be expat, and you're looking for a great place to resettle, Makati should definitely be on your list. This place is known as the financial capital of the Philippines. And they say that Ayala Street is like the Wall Street of the Philippines. Now, there's a few things to keep in mind about this place. One is that it is the 41st most densely populated location in the world. So if you don't like big crowds and you don't like pollution, then this is probably not a good place for you. That said, there's some real perks to the place as well. Compared to a place like Los Angeles, where I'm from, it's downright cheap. I mean, you can buy a beer for about $1 and you can have a nice lunch for $3. All while still having the same creature comforts from home due to the fact that it's one of the most modern developed locations in the Philippines. So if you miss your Starbucks, if you miss your Subway restaurants, I'm not sure why you would, then you can still have access to all of that here in Makati, as well as a lot of crazy nightlife, a lot of bars, restaurants, international cuisine. In fact, the whole city has the highest amount of international residents of anywhere because it's the financial capital. So on any given day, you'll see Arabic people, you'll see Chinese people, Americans, Australians. They all conglomerate here usually because of international business. This is definitely the international business capital of the country, and you can see that. In fact, just last night, I was at a restaurant sitting next to across from a Turkish guy who was closing like a $250,000 deal on his cell phone while he was eating. So that kind of stuff is pretty typical. So in many ways, it's kind of like a slice of New York City here in Southeast Asia. That said, I mean, it still has the flair of the Philippines. It's still quite, I wouldn't say undeveloped, but you still get that Philippine style here. You'll get the street food, and you'll get the little shanty houses contrasted by the huge skyscrapers and five-star hotels. So you have definitely that contrast between poverty and opulence. Now, some people say that the Philippines has gotten a lot better in recent years when it comes to the gap between the very, very rich and the very, very poor. There's a little bit more of a middle class these days, but still I wouldn't say it's on par with what we'd expect in a more developed country. Nonetheless, I think that if you haven't been to the Philippines before and you want a nice city to relocate to, Makati is definitely a good bet if you don't mind the fast-paced, very busy, high traffic, high pollution type of location. If you want something a little more quaint, maybe by a beach, you may want to check out somewhere like Palawan instead. But if you're like me and you like the big city, I think you'll like this place quite a bit. So with that being said, let's go ahead and look into the details of the city, where to eat, what the people are like, what things there are to do, what the nightlife is like. Let's check that out now.
Since I was in one of the biggest metropolitan centers in Philippines, I decided to look for a place as close to the action as possible while I was in Makati. So I settled with St. Augustine Residences at the busy Burgos Avenue near Makati Avenue. This place, while pretty basic, does have all the amenities that I could want at a very affordable price. Plus, it seems to have these bars on the window to, I assume, keep bad guys out or maybe keep guests inside. I'm not so sure which. Speaking of security, it's likely that the Philippines has the most amount of security personnel of any country I've ever been to. So you should feel pretty safe taking a walk anywhere on Makati Avenue, visiting many of the daytime bars and restaurants. Or maybe you want to check out the city's colonial roots at the many churches and cathedrals like St. Peter's here. Or some people want to go and have affordable spa treatments done, manicures, that kind of thing, and there's plenty of options there as well. Regardless of where you're going in Makati, whether you're a local or an expat, most people use these blue tricycles, which are basically little carts attached to motorbikes. Are they as efficient as normal motorbike taxis? I'm not sure, but people like them. One of the first things I noticed going out to look for something to eat is that there's plenty of modern franchises like Coffee Beans and Starbucks, if you like that kind of thing. But I decided to try something a bit more local by going to a restaurant called Rufos's. Now, I gotta tell ya that in the Philippines, it's not known as a culinary destination, and this shredded beef and rice dish left a lot to be desired. But this is not to mean all the food in the Philippines is bad. All you have to do is know where to look. Which brings me to Marketplace, which is a popular grocery store in Manila. And Marketplace also just so happens to have a food that stares back at you when you buy it. When you're done being freaked out by the stuff on the shelves, then check out the Marketplace Cafe. So I had a feeling that this would be a good place to eat because there are huge lines of expats and locals alike to eat here. When I finally did settle down with a plate, I grabbed this chicken adobo. This only costed about $1 USD, but it was one of the better tasting things I'd eaten because it was filled with pepper and spices and it just tasted really good. Crossing the street takes some getting used to. Just remember, cars are usually going to stop, but stay vigilant and be very cautious. Another place I recommend for eating is Canto Freestyle, Canto being Tagalog for corner. Here is some honey garlic chicken, which was also one of the better things I ate on my trip. Definitely check this place out. Night descends on Makati, and locals and tourists and expats alike fill up the many bars and nightclubs near Makati Avenue. Like many Southeast Asian cities, you'll find a lot of quirky expat-operated businesses, and Makati also boasts a small red light district quite similar to others around Southeast Asia, just in case you feel like getting harassed by bar girls and ladyboys as you try to cross the street. At this point, I was getting pretty desperate to eat something that you could consider healthy. So I passed a place called Kenny Rogers Grill here on Makati Avenue, boasting of healthy food. So I buy a chicken sandwich and lo and behold, it's made with real whole wheat bread, which is kind of hard to find in a city where it seems like almost everything is fried. Overall, my favorite place to eat at night in Makati became this Cuban fusion-inspired restaurant called Loco Manok near my hotel on Burgos Avenue. So this place has a great happy hour that I indulged in more than a couple times. And for dinner this night, I decided to have some roast chicken with a chili jelly that was a bit spicy and full of flavor. Definitely one of my favorite spots. Also, they have great pork bowls with fermented vegetables. Really love that one too. No trip to Makati would be complete without visiting the luxurious and strangely named I Am Hotel, or is it I'm Hotel? I'm not so sure. At the top floor of the I'm or I Am Hotel is the Antidote Bar, which is one of the premier places in Makati for cocktails, as well as checking out one of the best views of the whole city. Something that makes this bar special is the Jellyfish Aquarium, which spans about 3 huge tanks and is filled with lots of beautiful jellyfish. I'll admit I'm kind of a nature nerd, so I was spending about 10 minutes staring at these guys. Check this out, it's a glowing menu. That's pretty useful, isn't it? I settled on buying a Tokyo Sojourn cocktail made out of egg white, cayenne pepper, cumin, and other offbeat ingredients. I have to tell you, it's one of the spicier cocktails that I've drank. Well, just like that, my time in the Philippines is just about up. I have a flight early tomorrow morning to Indonesia, which is one of my favorite countries. So I'm just back here in the hotel room packing up. Some things I can't forget about includes my stomach pills, because one thing I didn't mention in the video you just saw
which is that about half the things I ate out here in Makati made me sick, which usually happens when your body is not used to all of the local microorganisms. So unfortunately, that just kind of comes with the territory. Indonesia is not much better. But anyway, I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you liked the video you just saw. In fact, you can help the channel out by giving it a share, giving it a like, punching that notification bell. All that really helps me. I'll see you all on the next journey.